people? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward. We appreciate you guys for choosing to kick off the day with the crew. It's been a good couple weeks of content, engagement, and support as well from our chat family, so we appreciate you guys greatly. Now we got to talk about hopefully another team that is probably going to ruffle your feathers a little bit, Flannel.
Oh, it's all good.
But it's all good. We got some things to break down, a lot with the Detroit Pistons, the president of basketball operations search update. You got the draft. You got some free agency news. Who better to break it down with than Mr. Rob Beard? You guys want to help me real quick with this drum roll?
Absolutely.
Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome again to the legend Detroit News, Rob Beard, brother. As always, how you doing today? And kick things off with Rod's thoughts.
Denver Nuggets are not dead. They're not dead. It's you get down 0-2 and then people start feeling themselves a little bit and saying that they're gone. Defending champs are always going to be hard to knock off. It's not a lot of times that you see a team go down 0-2 at home and figure out a way to turn this series around. The Nuggets are doing that. They're just an amazing, amazing team. And we'll see how the rest of the series goes. But this playoffs has been a little bit more interesting than I thought it might be. I thought it might be really chalky and the favorites win all the way through. But we've seen some surprises and some really good series so far.
It has been. And honestly, Jalen Brunson is one of those players that has absolutely kind of amazed me this playoff.
He's making a name for himself.
You talking about making a name for himself. I didn't think that he would be able to put the type of separation between the type of player he's showing himself to be in the playoffs against Tyrese Halliburton. Like there looks like there'll be a huge gap between who Jalen Brunson has proven to be versus Halliburton. The playoffs have been a good watch this year. I can't lie, can't hate. And you know who's not there? LeBron James. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, he did show up to one game.
To one game. Yeah, we'll give him that.
He showed up to the Cavs game.
We'll give him that. He did.
With purpose, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. You know, Rod, can I ask you about Tim Connolly? Because that's a name that gets brought up a lot as a target for the PBO spot. I believe he's from Michigan. He's from Saginaw, maybe. But I just want to know your thoughts on him. I don't know a ton about, his moves, his roster construction, except for the Rudy Gobert trade. And I'd almost argue that if Anthony Davis doesn't become a star like he is now, when I first looked at that trade, it seemed like one of the worst trades of all time. So should I be concerned about that, or is Tim Connolly the right type of fit for this PBO role?
I mean, if you just turn Minnesota around and you did some work in Denver, what excites you about this Pistons job? That once you get to that point, it's like Pat Riley. Once he got the Heat turned around, he wasn't going anywhere else. And I can't see Tim Connolly saying, hey, let me start over. If you built something, it's like when you build a sandcastle or a big thing of dominoes. You don't want to start over and say, let me go back to domino number one or start over with a new bucket of sand. You want to continue to build the empire that some of the greats have built with their franchises. I think that's when you look at some of these candidates and the names that are tossed out, I think that's what you've got to look at too is also, do you feel like you're going to come to Detroit and have the full control that a president of basketball operations and other franchises will have?
Keep asking.
That's the big question here. And for Troy Weaver, that's been some of the same questions. Did he have full autonomy to do everything that he wanted to do? We've heard kind of varying versions of that maybe he did in some cases and maybe he didn't in others.
Yeah, and you know what? To talk a little bit more about Tim Connolly and to kind of piggyback on the point that Rob Beard is making, when he did leave Denver for Minnesota, he didn't leave Denver for a team that had to be turned around. It was a squad that was looking to go from good to the next level. And all he had to do when he got to Minnesota was really augment. He just signed the other players that were already there, like Ant Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, to longer-term deals, made some pretty shrewd trades as it related to bringing in Conley Jr., and bringing in Rudy Gobert, which helped to transform the defensive mindset of the Minnesota Timberwolves and took them to a completely different level than they had been prior. Prior, I was like, you know what, this team is just underwhelming. But since they've gotten Connolly, made these changes, and kind of had this mindset take over the organization, it's been better. It'd be the perfect hire for the Pistons. But like you said, Rod, I don't know why he would choose to come here with so much that's still kind of up in the air as it relates to the Pistons front office and their organization, like their direction ahead. And just a few more notes here. about the Pistons president of basketball operations job. John Horst, he officially declined the job, and there was a couple others as well that declined it. But the Bucks blocked the Pistons. Actually, he didn't decline it. The Bucks blocked the Pistons from interviewing for the general manager position for the president of basketball operations, and that's via Jake L. Fisher of Yahoo Sports. Also, former Trailblazers executive Neil Olshey also declined an interview request from the Pistons. And obviously, we all know that the future of Troy Weaver is going to be left up to this president of basketball operations. Now, we keep seeing candidates fall off by the wayside. And since our last pod, I got some insight that Dwayne Casey is actually really, really vying to try and get this job. Is there a scenario that you see that could take place where Dwayne Casey actually winds up in the president of basketball operations role? And what would your thoughts be on that?
I mean, I think it makes sense if that's the direction that that you want to go. Is if you're looking at Olshey's and you're looking at all of these other kind of big time names, and nobody wants to come here, you're getting blocked from getting the names that you want to try to come in. Dwayne Casey makes sense. He knows the city, he knows the franchise, he knows the will to win, and he has the energy to want to do it. And I think he would be a good guy, that he understands where you are. He understands his players, this group of players, because he's coached them. And again, I think it's just going to be, do you give him the ability to do the things that he wants to do? He's been around in the league for a really long time. He's got the connections, and he understands kind of the inner workings of how all this works. So yeah, absolutely. I say if that's an option, that you certainly look at it and put that name in the hat and give him a fair chance to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I want to talk a little bit about the draft as well, but I know, KG, you got a question too?
Yeah, Ryan, and I know you're an honest man, but I need an honest answer, man.
Set it up like that.
Yeah, you just set it up.
And listen, and I know you're going to get more in depth on the draft and everything, but I just need answers, man. I've been on the negative bandwagon pretty much since the offseason started, and they announced that they're going to open this PBO roll-up. And I kind of doubled down on that with the news of the 5th pick in the draft, because that severely hurts our trade value going forward in the offseason. Is there light at the end of the tunnel for whoever takes this job? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel, or a way that they can actually make it out of this? Because I don't at this point.
There's always a light at the end. I'm just optimistic that way, that there's always a light. It just may not be very simple to try to get there. And it's going to take a lot of work. I mean, even when Troy Weaver came in, it was the same sort of situation. Is there a way out of this thing? Yeah, you got to turn your roster over, and you need some breaks to go your way, and you have to draft well. And I think those same things are in play right now. You've got to do those things. You can't miss in the draft. You can't miss in free agency. And you've got to make some very smart, calculated risks and have those work out for you. And we've just seen a lot of those have not. That's just the luck of the draw in some of this thing. And again, it's not always linear. You're not always going to get it immediately. Sometimes you got to be in the mud for a little bit before you end up pulling your way out.
Rod, speaking of that number 5 overall pick, what was your initial reaction when you saw with the
Can we not?
Yeah.
pick of the draft?
I already know what his reaction was.
On the number 5 overall pick.
Yeah. So, like, were you devastated, upset, or kind of just like whatever? Because I know, like,
it's
yeah. Go ahead.
It's very whatever. It's most Pistons fans were just like, whatever, man. What is this?
We've seen this before.
So here's where I land on this. If you think the lottery is rigged, or you don't like the system or whatever, get out of the lottery. You know who's not worried about where the ping pong balls fall? The Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Celtics. The teams who are good, who don't have to depend on the lottery, are the ones who don't care about it. Don't care about the lottery. It's not going to be fair. The math says if you have a 14% chance of getting the number 1 pick, you got an 86% chance of not getting it. So don't be mad when it doesn't happen. We haven't seen a lot of just the worst teams going out and getting that number 1 pick. We know it well enough now what the percentages are. The NFL has the one kind of league where the worst record automatically gets that number 1 pick. So it's harder to tank in the NFL, but you end up with that automatically. if you end up in a lottery system, there is a chance that you just don't. And unless you want lottery reform to say the worst team can only drop lower than 3, I think that's the easiest fix in all of this. But you still have to fix the math to make it work that way, that you don't drop as far. But this system is crazy. We've seen some crazy things happen in the past couple of years. If you don't want to end up in it, win some games, get out of the lottery, get in the playoffs, and have some excitement for your fans.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that. When we first gave our reactions on the Detroit Pistons dropping to 5, that was a lot of my sentiment as well. You know what? I can't feel bad for the Pistons organization because they knew what the odds were. They've been screwed by this process before, and you had a plan to pull yourself, according to their own admission, into a position where you would be competing every night, potentially for a play-in spot. That's what the organization was stating. When you find yourself right back here again, picking 5th in the NBA draft lottery for the 3rd year in a row, you don't really have anyone to blame but yourself at that point in time. The people I feel bad for, the observers and the fans, because they continue to stay engaged, whether they're at the arena or not, they continue to stay engaged. But speaking about this draft, the Pistons fall to 5. It takes a lot of luster. It takes, in my opinion, a lot out of their cupboard as it relates to the types of assets they can have to try and accelerate this rebuild and really bring to fruition some aspect of that hope that KG was asking you about as well. When you look at the players that are available, in my opinion, some of the players I think that should be considered at 5, Dalton Connect, Reed Shepherd, some kind of 3-point shooting guards, wing-type players. And when you're talking about going up to 6'9", 6'10", there's some people who believe that Zachary Risachet, and I know we talked about him a couple weeks ago, might fall down to 5. And obviously, Matas Buzelis as well, 6'10". I don't know what you want to call him. And Buzelis is who I wanted to focus on because I've seen a lot of conversation about him online across the social spectrum with Pistons fans and even fans from other places who believe he might be the guy to come to the Pistons. G League Ignite, so he has a little bit of, I guess, NBA experience, but his transition from high school to the G League Ignite, it left a lot to be desired. A player that a lot of people thought, you know what, he's going to be a knockdown 3-point shooter, has a little bit of wiggle to his game. All he has to do is get stronger. He got to the G League Ignite, and he got exposed. And shout out to Hoops Hype, Mr. Scotto, for putting out this article as well. And he talked about Matas Buzelis. He believes, and okay, here's the kicker. I'm going to say this, and I'll let you talk. He believes that he might be the Pistons' pick at number 5. One, because of the versatility that he may provide, and 2, he said, quote unquote, it's worth noting Buzelis is represented by Michael Tellum of Excel Sports. Pistons Vice President and Chairman Arn Tellum. Matas Buzelis, if that is the pick, Rod, what do you like? What do you don't like about this?
And if you professionals want to text me an actual response to read so it doesn't have to come out of your voice, let me know.
Rod is thinking.
I'm not even thinking. I already know what I want to say. It's like Adam Silver better come up right before the Pistons pick. Like, we have a trade. Just give me that. Give me 4 words. We have a trade that the Pistons are trading out and trading down. I don't know. Like, we've said from jump, there's no way they should be making this pick for themselves. They should be trading this pick. I want to see this pick gone before the draft. I don't care about Buzelis, je n'aime pas Risachet, just nobody. So even from a fan perspective, if you said, hey, give us the number 1 pick, we never get the number 1 pick. You didn't want the number 1 pick in this draft anyway. You wanted it for Cade. You wanted it for Vic, but you don't want it in this year. So that's even why the number 5 pick, I don't care about it even more. Yeah. Because if you
he was preaching. It was preaching.
They got my guy, man.
You know, if we get him back, we'll definitely let him finish that.
He's back.
Back. There we go.
Right. So Dalton Connect is the type of guy that you need, a 6'8", 6'9" knockdown shooter. That's the profile of the guy you need. Do you use the number 5 pick on him? If you do all the measurables and kick the tires and that's your guy, then that's your guy. You take him at 5. But I don't like Buzelis. So let me do it this way too. The G League Ignite and playing in the G League gave a connection. It gave you something to look at American-style basketball or NBA-style basketball to say whether these guys can really make that transition. How would the Pistons have benefited if Sekou or Killian had played in the G League for a year for the Ignite, and you got to see what their warts were or what they were really good at and whether that was really transitional to the NBA? We never got that opportunity, but now if we're seeing that with Buzelis and some of these other guys,
you gotta believe what you see.
You believe what you see, and that's the G League. And NBA players are that much better. So you're not taking as much of a gamble on a guy when you can see, hey, if he's not playing well at the G League level, how much harder is it going to be for him at the NBA level? So I think that's something that we've got to kind of look at in this too. I don't like any of these cats. Dalton Connect, you can convince me on, but I don't like any of these cats.
Yep.
Just trade that pick, package it with whatever you can, bring me an all-star. I don't want to break down one single draft prospect because there's warts on all of them. And there's question marks on every single one of them that I don't even want to get into. Trade this pick, man. Let's go. Let's do something different.
That's such a perfect segue because shout out to Evan Sittery. He said, in what many league executives consider to be one of the weakest drafts in a decade, expect to see plenty of trade chatter between now and draft night. A lot of teams will prefer moving their picks for veteran players. This is the league now. And it's by all accounts and measures, by the analytics, the 2024 class is viewed around the association as one of the worst in the last 25 years. And we've heard this before, and there's been some gems, but I'm with you. Trade. It's become official now that Brandon Ingram will be on the trade block. Some rumors have come out. That was via Mark Stein, the Stein line. Apparently the Cavs, Hawks, Magic, and Sixers are going to definitely be confirmed suitors for Brandon Ingram. But these are the type of players. Yeah, and the Pistons, they have to be. The Hawks as well. They're another team that's come up in a lot of different trade discussions. So to your point, this might be the year that trading that number 5 pick, trading a top 5 pick will actually net you a lot more as it relates to potential, hope, and the foundation of building anything than any other year that I've seen from the Detroit Pistons. I'm hoping, like you said, that this is a pick, trade the pick type of year for the Pistons. I wouldn't be, though. I think that this is the perfect draft for them to be able to trade back into the bottom of that first round like we've seen them do. But any last words, Rod?
No, that's it. We have to do it because that's the way things work in breaking down, well, what about this guy and this guy's film and whatever. Oh, these next couple months are just going to be something unless they just trade this pick. I mean,
they have to. They have to. That's it. That is your 2024 NBA draft analysis for the Detroit Pistons. Trade the pick, and that is it. Is it.
If we have to break down Alex Andre, I'm not even going to call him Alexander. Alex Andre video.
Yep.
I feel you, Rod.
It's going to be a summer, man. It's going to be a summer.
I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, man. Rod Beard, sports editor-in-chief for the Detroit News. We definitely clap it up. Thank you for giving us your time every single week for a couple fire segments every single time. We appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, guys.
Oh,
Thanks, Rod.
Thank you,
Rod. Thank you. Rod is perfect, man. Perfect human being. But now more than ever, it's critical for you to have your insurance reviewed. Swiss Insurance will make sure your carrier is not sipping in any extra fees or raising the deductibles or trying to sell